Jonah Hill is back in mainstream eyes and has teamed up with big names from Eddie Murphy to Lauren London to Andrew Schulz to bring us You People, a 2023 Netflix original that's a take on the unlikely pairing trope through the couple of Ezra and Amira, two people that hail from different cultural backgrounds from a Jewish and Muslim upbringing respectively. While yes, having its moments and eye-catching ensemble cast, it doesn't take too long for you to realize that You People fundamentally doesn't work as a story, and there isn't really a nicer way to put it. I know it sounds a bit harsh as I'm being extremely blunt about it, and trust me, it hurts me a lot to say since I really like a lot of the names associated with this project, but the movie given is such a low quality piece that its main purpose comes off as just trying to capture the black dollar as quick and as with little effort as possible. It's not even executed in an entertaining manner, but rather like it had an 11:59 due date and it was already 10 p.m. It's another installment in a devastatingly long list of recent films that primarily tries to market itself around a specific big draw or the conglomerate of prevalent faces that pop up in said project rather than selling you on the story itself. And while it is a pretty disingenuous practice, I at least wouldn't care nearly as much if it made good use of the hype generated from these big draws. Bullet Train marketed itself highly over the draws it provided, such as Brad Pitt, Sandra Bullock, Joey King, Bad Bunny, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But I don't think people cared nearly as much as something like Black Adam, which was being heavily targeted as a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie, because Bullet Train was at least an entertaining movie. You people stretched to every corner of Hollywood with stars like Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill. You got the huge side characters such as Nia Long and Louis-Dreyfus. You got the rappers in Young Miami. You got the comedians in Andrew Schulz. You got the random cameos in Anthony Anderson and Deon Cole. And this movie just didn't capitalize in the slightest to tell the truth. All the talent in the world can't help if your story is so fragile that it shatters under the slightest bit of any scrutiny. But what is it about this film that leaves such a sour taste in its viewer's mouth? It is bad, but why is it bad? Well, after racking my brain for days on end, I've come up with the ultimate conclusion that this movie is just lazy. Simple as that. They aren't stupid. I know for a fact that going into this, the creative team knew exactly the potential this premise had. A modern 2020s spin on the breaking the interracial barrier story reflected in releases such as the 1967's release of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and the 2005 release of Guess Who. This revamp had the chance to look into the dynamics of several society relations, from aspects of race, religion, gender, and age, through the lenses of our current era. It would also embrace this more modern, specifically more urban culture that serves to be the connective tissue that bonds these seemingly otherworldly parties together. When you see this idea written out in this manner, this actually makes the movie sound very promising, and it also makes me quite upset that we weren't given that movie. They took the potential of what it could have been and constantly cut corners to end up with a watered down mess that is a shell of its potential glory. A theme that is ever so present no matter what aspect of the story you're looking at. Just look at the comedy, if nothing else. You have some of the most widely recognized comedians spanning multiple generations, projects, and general experience working on this movie, and your hardest hits include recycled Vine jokes, harmful stereotypes, and if all else fails, let's just let Jonah Hill riff for half the scene. At least that doesn't compare to other cut corners that have produced far greater negative repercussions, as this movie just relegates his religious and cultural dichotomy into simply who had it worse. With dialogue between a Jewish and Muslim family, insightful discussions could have been encouraged about experiences and hardship that can maybe help contextualize their present worldviews, but like with everything else potentially good here, it gets ruined due to their laziness. Now you have this movie being flagged for anti-Semitism, and it gives even more ammunition towards those that are already against the black cause. I really don't like this movie. The primary pairing of this movie, Ezra and Amira, is very interesting. They are the two beings from separate worlds, and the entire plot hinges on their chemistry being on point. They're supposed to be the underdog duo that wins over the audience's heart, which makes their eventual triumph in the end that much more satisfying. Yet I could pick two random people from the streets of California, and I'm 100% sure they would have a better connection. There is no exaggeration when I say this, but a solid 70% of their relationship is composed of montages or time skips, meaning we really rush over practically everything. The other 30% of their relationship couldn't be discernible from an everyday friendship if context was taken away from it. I gotta give it to them. In an age when people romanticize any slight affection between characters, this movie managed to do the complete opposite. I of course know this was written this way to show respect to her late boyfriend of many years and major California name in Nipsey Hussle, but at that point, why even go out of your way to cast her in the first place, especially to the point of begging her to be in your movie? I know this was supposed to be an LA heavy piece and she is an LA name, but if your main love interest is relegated to nothing more but a glorified platonic friend, you're actively setting yourself up to fail as if this isn't a romantic comedy. The justification around needing Lauren London for this role was that it serves to show that a connection is deeper than what is shown on paper. As if the average person saw London and Hill together, the viewer would be blown out of the water completely. Which, side note, Jonah Hill and Zazie Beetz caught the meanest and most random strays in this article. But back to my main point, could showing this message even be fully embraced if you never let the actors actually connect on camera in the first place? Andrew Schulz even notes that the one and only time we see them kiss in the movie, at their wedding, was all fake. It was a CGI kiss for the ending of a romantic comedy. Bro, it's just never that serious. Even in some promotional material, they look like old college buddies more than anything. You are in LA of all places. I'm sure it wouldn't be the hardest task in the world to find a big name Cali native actress, as without even knowing who, I'm already certain they would connect with Hill more than just the occasional awkward side hug and a CGI wedding kiss. I'm not a betting man, but if I had to guess who attributed the most to the shortcomings of this film, then I'm looking no further than the creator, producer, writer, and director himself, Kenya Barris. A man whose filmography is almost exclusively doing sequels or reimaginings of nostalgic properties and always making them worse. A man that has also capitalized, especially in modern times, off of repurposing and remodeling his story structures into multiple different projects. Unfortunately, these stories typically lack the necessary refinement to allude to any theme that is any more than a surface level gag. So along with the copy and pasted plots, we all see he implements shortcuts to actually get to the point of creating a full story. For example, these movies can't naturally build a likable character on its own, so it then heavily relies on stigmas and stereotypes of relatable black moments to try to garner any sort of connection to the audience. Like, oh, everyone has that one black uncle that's a scammer. Or, oh, black moms are just so loud and rude. It's clear manipulation of the content's primary demographic, nearing Tyler Perry levels of questionability. Maybe there is an argument to be made about how the lack of representation in the past has skewed minority groups into accepting these wild and quite harmful generalizations as just a natural part of media. But I don't know, maybe that's a topic for another day. Despite my criticisms, You People has still gotten its grips on some Netflix audiences' eyes, as it has claimed and maintained the #1 spot for English Netflix movies for the first 2 weeks it's been released. It has also accumulated more than 65 million hours viewed and counting in its first 28 days. And yeah, it's sort of a given when you promise a Justice League level lineup for a dang near 2-hour project, especially if it offers a comedy legend and fan favorite himself, Eddie Murphy. But one quick movie review search anywhere and you can see the audience's true feelings about this 2023 release. You People is just a very forced movie because they are jumping through so many hoops so that they are able to do as little work as possible. You can practically sit here and nitpick every little thing, but there's no need when you have such glaring weaknesses that stick out like a sore thumb. And again, it's just a shame, considering how much this material had to offer. It gives us the occasional funny moments here and there, yeah, but nothing substantial enough to steer it in a positive direction. I am certain that if they would have taken their time, taken some creative risk, and actually developed thought-provoking undertones in this movie, this truly could have been the LA love letter that they were hoping for. If you guys made it this far, I would ask if you guys please like and subscribe to the channel. It only takes 2 seconds, but it would mean the world to me. Peace.